In this segment, we're going to talk about lists. I love lists. I honestly think everyone loves lists in a document. I've taken informal surveys over the years. I've never met anyone who doesn't like a list in their document. So I'm going to give you some pointers on how you can create an effective list. To start with, what I want to emphasize is these 3 points. As a writer, I want you to think about how lists need to use parallel structure. Parallel structure is very important for a number of reasons, not only because of the grammatical component, but also for the flow. The second point to remember is that your lead-in statements need to flow logically into that bulleted list. Quite often there's a disconnect. You'll read the lead-in statement, you'll read the first bullet, you'll get confused for a moment because there is that disconnect. A third point to remember is that your lead-in statement is very helpful because your lead-in statement is actually going to control the grammar of your bulleted list. So what I'd like to show you next is 4 lead-in statements that essentially say the same thing. And by doing this, I'm going to show you how the lead-in statement's going to flow logically into your bullets and how that lead-in statement is going to control the grammar of your bullets. With the first example, to enhance your learning, let's imagine that that's a sentence that's completed with the phrase, share your experiences with others. It would read, to enhance your learning, share your experiences with others. Because that reads like a complete sentence, when I start to bullet my ideas of how I can enhance my learning, I'm going to continue with share your experiences with others. So when I read it, to enhance your learning, share your experiences with others, to enhance your learning, review your notes on a regular basis, you see that you're also creating parallel structure. Let's look at the next sample. If you want to enhance your learning, share your experiences with others. Once again, the phrase that's completing the bullet could read like a sentence if you were to include the lead-in statement. The third sample. Here are 3 ways to enhance your learning. There's a finality there. It's almost like a full stop. Because of that, your bullet is actually going to be a complete sentence. And as with all complete sentences, we're going to capitalize it and we're going to put a period. The final sample really emphasizes how the lead-in statement controls the grammar of your bullet. If I keep the word share, and if I were to just write it on the board without considering the lead-in statement and then read it, we see how there is this disconnect. You can enhance your learning by share your experience with others. It doesn't work, and that's because of the word by that is controlling the bullet. So you can enhance your learning by sharing your experiences with others, by reviewing your notes regularly. There is another point that I want to talk about, and that's the capitalization and punctuation of lists. If your bullet is a complete sentence, such as sample 3, treat it as such, use a capital, use a period. If you have a document with lists that are both complete sentences and fragments or lists of words, you can go with what I call the Microsoft way, which is essentially just capping the first letter as the Microsoft Word program does for you. That's one style. The second style you could choose is what I simply refer to as mix and match, which means that you follow essentially what I have on the board. You capitalize and use punctuation for bulleted lists that are complete sentences, but you lowercase lists of words, phrases, fragments. Regardless of whether you go with the Microsoft or the mix and match, you still will only use a period or a question mark, or an exclamation point if it's a complete statement. There's no need for semicolons in any of these lists. Finally, what I would like to comment on is list length. If we have a long paragraph, we're scared. If we have a long list, we're scared. The longer a sentence, the longer a paragraph, the longer a list, the less chance the reader's actually going to finish reading to the end of it. Therefore, I'm going to provide you with a guideline. And that guideline is 6 items for a list. If you have a list that is 6 paragraphs, I would encourage you to break it up. That's quite long. But if you have a list of 10 phrases, you might break it into 2 lists of 5. Think about how you can make the content accessible. Keep the number 6 in mind and work with it. But at the end of the day, ask yourself, will my reader actually read to the end of this? No? Then work a little harder as the writer so our readers don't have to work so much. Break that list up. Create a new lead-in statement. Those are the points that I wanted to share with you today about creating lists.